They can win this game, but the Bombers will keep coming, and keep coming they do. Get out of my way, says Jason Johnson. Gave the big Donahue and kicked the goal.
Well, a very popular star of Essendon's 2000 premiership side, Jason Johnson, played for the Bombers for 12 seasons, 184 games, 2 best and fairest, all Australian, and of course a premiership player. Thanks for joining us, JJ.
No worries, Ray.
Well, great story to tell. Let's go back to the start. You played under 18s with Calder Cannons. You were in the All-Australian team at the 96 Junior Championships. But you also played some reserves footy even in that year too, didn't you, with I think Footscray and North Melbourne? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was probably pretty lucky, to be honest with you. I finished year 12 at Assumption College, and I'd actually given up footy for a couple of years from 15 to 17, and took it back up when I was sort of in year 12. And I guess I was young enough at the end of the year 12 to still play under 18 footy. After that, I wasn't quite mature enough to go on and play senior footy anywhere else, and got an opportunity to play at Calder Cannons. And before I actually played a TAC Cup game, I was actually asked by the Bulldogs and to play in their reserve side because they had a few injuries at the start of the season. So it was, certainly didn't expect it. I think I had a decent practice match that I played at Kramer Street Oval against Northern Bull Ants, and got a call up and got my first taste of VFL footy.
So why had you given it up at that age?
Looking back on it, I don't really know why, to be honest with you. I got a little bit of trouble at school, and I had to sort of just break my friendship groups a little bit, and I left Assumption for a year and went to Whittlesea College, and then I come back in year 12 and I probably just matured a little bit, but yeah, just probably got a little bit run down with the game, and I was really into other sports as well. You know, golf and cricket were something that I really loved doing, so I sort of, just did that, I guess, outside of school.
So I keep all my old media guides. I was having a look at the first one you were in, and it said runs hard and straight, needs to work on his disposal. Was that a bit of a problem for you early doors?
Oh yeah, I think it was something I had to work on all the way through my career, to be honest with you, Ron. It was, I probably didn't quite, balance when I needed to, take the time. I always thought I was under pressure. Sometimes you run so hard in a game, you get a bit fatigued and you turn the footy over. But I think I kicked 108 goals and 109 points and probably another 100 out in the full. But it was always something that I was conscious of and had to work on.
One of my first memories of you during a game was that it was a game late in '98 against Carlton. It was the one where, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you sort of came off the bench, had a big last quarter and kicked the goal yourself, and it was sort of like a bit of a coming of age almost. Am I on the money there or not?
Yeah, no, look, it took me a good 3 or 4 years. That game against Carlton, again, sitting on the bench for 3 quarters, she just, that was the way the game was played then, no rotations, and you come on, it was pretty fresh, and got an opportunity in the midfield, and I got a couple of lucky bounces and kicked the goal from 50, which was a bit of a highlight, and it was, I guess, my first, real feeling. I think I got a Norwich Rising Star that game, so to be actually recognised in 1 quarter to sort of get a little bit of recognition from that was sort of made me believe that I could, at least compete for a quarter at that level, and sort of, I guess, held me in good stead for, the remaining of that year and then into 2000.
So you said you arrive at the 2000 season having played 15 games in 3 years. I think you'd played about 50 odd reserves games, so you certainly had plenty of grounding, but you played, I think, 24 out of the 25 in 2000?
I think I played all of them.
Oh, you played, sorry, I cut you short.
Yeah.
But what clicked for you in that pre-season that saw you sort of come into that side and never look like going out of it?
I got a good crack at it. I had a full pre-season. Pre-seasons prior to that were interrupted, but yeah, I had a good run at it. I was fit. Sheeds obviously made some changes, a couple of changes. There's always 4 or 5 changes every year from a premiership side. You look at the next premiership side, it would have been 5 from the 84, 85 premiership. But
when were you aware during that season that this was a really special team? I mean, we've never seen anything like it. 24 wins out of 25, average winning margin of around 7 goals. I mean, it was just. At what point did you think, geez, we're pretty good?
Yeah. We knew we were pretty good at the start of the year, to be honest with you, because 99 was one that we sort of, whether it through be just a kick or some injuries that we had. We didn't have James Hird and Scott Lucas play at the end of the 99 season. So I think 99 we were a pretty good team, and a lot of people say we should have won it, and it was probably the one I look back on to think, we should have won 99, and 2001 we just got there really because we had carrying a lot of injuries, but into that grand final. But we knew we were good at the start of the year. It was just about making sure that we followed through in that year, and we were able to do that.
There's incredible focus among that group, wasn't there? I remember you guys refused to sing the song after a win, and there was just sort of one focus the entire year. Yeah,
it was, and it's hard to sort of keep that sort of, I guess, intensity and focus, but we had a lot of guys on the same page, and I think that helped a lot. The whole list was there and wanting to be a part of it because I knew it was building to be something special as the year progressed. And I think John Quinn was the big driver in, what are you celebrating for? You haven't done anything yet type of thing. And that sort of kept us, going throughout the year, and, I guess made it a bit of a thing for us.
And you mentioned like the side sort of pulled up a bit short in 2001. There were plenty of injuries, but is that probably your best season of footy? I mean, you won the best and fairest in your second full year of senior footy. Like, it's a pretty amazing achievement, but you were on a roll. I mean, we talk 2001, everyone remembers the comeback game against North Melbourne. Yeah. I think the image comes into my head of that as you streaming out of the centre, kicking goals in that comeback. Yeah. Is that the best footy you ever played?
Probably wasn't the most consistent season I had. 2004, I felt like I had a pretty consistent season from if you look at stats and stuff like that. From a pure performance, some individual games were probably better in 2001, but overall 2004 was probably a more consistent year.
Now, like a lot of people post-career, you've moved on to different challenges, but do you look back on that sort of 99, 2002 era as a real life highlight for you, being part of that great side and winning a grand final, playing in front of those massive crowds? Pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I, no one can take away from me. I don't think about it a lot, but it's something that I'm very proud of, and I don't need to talk about it. I just know I've done it and I've been there, and not many people can say that they've done that. So it's sort of something that I'm very content with and very happy with that I've been able to achieve. Yeah.
Former best and fairest, he's done a lot at Windy Hill. That's what he needs to do to kick a goal. Have a look at it. They celebrate the black and red as Johnson kicks a massive goal.
Important one for Mark Johnson. The man who wears the number 1 Guernsey can bring the Bombers within 7, and he has.
Well, another favourite of Essendon fans and a critical part of that 2000 premiership side. He played 208 games for Essendon, token appearance for Fremantle at the end there, over 9 seasons. Premiership defender, Mark Johnson. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, Ron.
Well, great days. We talked to Jason about them, but that junior background, fair to say that you had to work a bit harder for your AFL opportunity than Jason or other players around that era?
Yeah, I came up through the same sort of ranks as Jace. He came from more of a schooling assumption background, where I sort of came from Sunbury, made the call to Cannons all the way through the junior. Did pretty well, but then sort of towards the end didn't quite get the straight into AFL ranks. I had to sort of work my way through the reserves and played a couple of years for Essendon after sort of getting offers from a few other clubs, but ended up going to Essendon purely because it was closest to Sunbury. So I was a carpenter at the time. It was easier for work, and it's funny how sort of things were always meant to be, I think.
So 2 very solid years in the reserves, and then you get elevated from the rookie list. You must have gone into that list position fairly confident that you could be a contributor by then, having played 2 years with very senior players.
It was an anticlimax really, because I was waiting for this, the big feeling of getting drafted or something like that. I ended up getting asked to go on the footy trip with the boys because we had a fairly good relationship by that stage, being there for 2 years, and went on the footy trip to Bali, and then got back, and Sheeds just called me in with Matthew Drain and just said, congratulations, you're on the list. And then that was it. He said, see you later, and we'll see you in pre-season. So that was how I got onto the list, and then just came back for the pre-season and yeah, it just went off from there.
Did it get a mention in the paper or anything? Or?
I don't think it would have. No. It was just like, yeah,
Well,
in you go.
it was very different then because you had, the rookies were just sort of an afterthought.
Yeah, it was only the second year. I was the first year of rookies.
Yeah.
And the first rookie, I think, was Ross Oakley's nephew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Lockie Oakley.
Yeah, right.
Which was,
I
I think,
remember that.
yeah. So he was the first rookie, and then I think I was second, maybe, ever. So, and then that was the second year of the rookie list, and that's when I got put on, and no one really knew of it until sort of Mel Michael started making a name for it, and a few bits and pieces.
Well, it's
here
got
and
a
there.
pretty proud history now.
It has now.
The rookie list.
Yeah, because like Jason sort of came into it and sort of was able to sort of grow into the senior role, where I sort of was growing in the opposite way. I just wasn't on the list. So we ended up basically coming in together and working through together. It was great.
So, yeah, I mean, that group of players that came through, there was a real ruthlessness about that team too. Very skillful, obviously, and very potent up forward, but very aggressive. Yeah, not in an over-the-line sort of way, but it was a pretty steely, tough side, and you're a big part of that.
I think Sheed's got his back up about that marshmallow game. I think that's where he sort of said, this is enough's enough, let's get some people in, and that's when we got, like, Dean Wallace was there.
Yep.
We had got a big lump of a bloke from Broken Hill, Dean Solomon, who just came in and was at, I think, 18, he was over 100 kilos. So he got certain people in, and Damien Hardwick, blokes that just turned, as soon as they got on the ground, they'll do anything to win. And yeah, that was like the part of our back line.
Which, you know, you mentioned Sheeds. I mean, it's funny because there's a real strong parallel, I reckon, between the makeup of that side and the Richmond sides that Sheeds played in the early 70s, which were great and highly skilled, but they were also the toughest side. It's a pretty fearsome combination. Now, I asked Jason this, but you must have felt at stages during that 2000 season like you were invincible. The confidence must have been incredible.
Yeah. It's just a part of being in a great side is like that. You just, you know, and that's why I think it was so special when you get to the end. Everyone's got each other's back. You know what you have to do. People trust. You got that trust. And back then, if you didn't have that trust, you'd get hurt. You'd trust them that you're going to get looked after. You're going to look after them. So the shepherding, you had blokes like in North Melbourne, Byron Pickett trying to pick you off, and he could. It was allowed.
Yeah.
So. It had a lot more dire circumstances if you didn't have that trust, which made it all the better when you win at the end.
What about the direct opponents you played on? Small forwards sort of becoming increasingly dangerous around that era. Always remember the job you did on Jeff Farmer in the grand final. Who were some of his ilk that you played on regularly?
One that slips through the cracks a lot, Matera. Phil Matera, he was superstar at that stage and really like a little rabbit.
Yeah.
Hard to follow around. We had Leon Davis. Every team had Milne. Milne was still kicking a bag of goals at that stage, and every team had their like smaller, really dangerous player, and that's sort of who Sheeds would let me go on.
Yeah. So it's amazing, though you're not brothers, that the parallels between you and Jason. So. He wins the 2001 Best and Fairest. You win in 2002. Do you feel like that was your best year of footy?
I think consistent from the back line, yes, but probably a little bit later on when I got on the ball. I love that. I love to be able to be free and just create. But I still get now, like Jason's more like my brother. He looks more like my brother than my real brother, Jason. So and I get it all the time. Oh, your brother. But you have to constantly say, look, we're 3 months apart in age. We can't be brothers. It's an impossibility. But it's kind of nice to know, like me as Mark Johnson, I don't think it's a big thing, Essendon, but the Johnson brothers together means something to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to be remembered as.
Did you ever compare notes with Scotty Lucas? Because he always got thrown in with Lloydie. He was sort of like he was never allowed to be.
Never swap notes with Scotty. Him and Lloydie have the same sort of relationship as me and Jason. We pushed each other. There was that friendly rivalry that you want to one up. You want to get better, and that's why we were such a good team. Look, it didn't matter that we were mates and we're teammates. Like, if it was on the ground, you wanted to better them, and that's what made iron sharpens iron, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what made us better.
A fantastic career at Essendon. It finished at Fremantle. I'm not sure how many people would remember that. You played 14 games, though. How did it go over there? Did you enjoy it, or?
Love the place. Like, I had a mate who lived over there, so I just basically brought it up with him. So it was a lovely place to visit. It had its interesting moments over there, but halves got me over there just, I think just to show younger blokes how to work. I loved training. I went hard all the time, and I think that's what he wanted to instill. This is how you go about it, which I found an honour. So I wanted to prove halves and show that, you know, this is why you got me over here. I want to prove that it was worthwhile.
So do you look back on your entire career with a great degree of satisfaction? Do you feel like you got absolutely everything you could out of yourself?
Every ounce.
Yeah.
And that's why I can rest easy. I had an amazing time. Like, I'd still say I was just a carpenter who was lucky enough to end up playing AFL for 10 years.
Yeah.
And had a ball. Enjoyed every moment of every pre-season. Going away with mates. Laughing every day, pretty much, but then working hard as well. So there was that yin and yang, which you miss sometimes, but I get it in other areas now.
Big Hill weaved his way through. High kick. Oh, Johnson! Mark Johnson takes one of the marks of the year so far from absolutely nowhere.
Well, you interview one Johnson, you interview another Johnson. What's the logical next step? It's Johnson and Johnson. Do they call you guys the baby powder twins or anything?
Never heard that before, Ron.
Do you like it?
I think Sheed's trying to get something off the ground for us. Yeah, back in the day, but I don't think Johnson & Johnson wanted anything to do with it.
We've heard it all before.
Yeah, I bet. It's hardly the most uncommon surname in the world, but how often did you get mistaken for brothers?
Every day.
Really?
Not every day now, but like every day back in the day when we were playing.
Yeah.
Or if we didn't get asked, it was just inferred. They just thought we were.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when they found out that we weren't, that's when it would go, oh, you what? You're not. Yeah. So it was always thought that we were brothers.
Well, it's just as well you like each other. You do actually like each other.
Well, it makes it tricky that I've got a brother, Jason. So I don't even know you know this, but I've got a real brother, Jason Johnson.
David.
And I've got an older brother, Jason Johnson.
Oh, no.
But doesn't look anything like Jason Johnson. So I'll get people come up to me and say, oh, how's your brother going, Jason? I'm going, oh, no, he's not my brother. No, Jason Johnson, who works for BMD. So they actually know my real brother, but I just presume that they're talking about.
So how's your real brother? Does he sort of feel neglected as a result of this? Or?
No, I think he just finds it funny.
Do you think were you drawn to each other simply because you had the same name, or did you actually have sort of similar traits that made you mates?
Similar traits.
Yeah, I think the way we went about it, the way we approached our footy, we had to work really hard to obviously get to where we got to with it. We played a similar brand of footy. He was probably a little bit more. He could jump over a jam tin. I couldn't, so he'd take a lot more high marks and kick goals where I didn't quite have that part of my game.
Super competitive.
Yeah, but yeah.
You or him?
Both of us.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and I think that's where we connect.
I would have thought, don't get me wrong, JJ, but I would have thought, hey, Mark was a bit more sort of openly aggressive on the field.
Yeah, he was. Like I was. Yeah, I'd just play the ball hard, and he was more getting in someone's face. He's quite a boisterous sort of type bloke. I'm really quiet, so yeah, a little bit very different in personalities in terms of outwardly how we are in a group of people, but very similar in the way we go about our work and footy.
Now, you've both got some skeletons in the closet I think we need to delve into. Now, you know this is coming, Mark, but I don't think I've ever seen or heard or read an interview with you where they don't mention Mr. Sunbury. Now, I don't know why. What is so coveted about the title of Mr. Sunbury? I wouldn't have thought it would have been a great
award.
Well, how big is the field? I mean, like, seriously.
It was a massive field of 4 people.
Right.
Just when I was younger, I did weights to get bigger for football and stronger. And one of my friends said, "Oh, I'm going to go into this competition." And so I said, "Oh, I'll jump in it with you." And little did I know I'd go into that, and then it would come back to bite me about 5 years later.
So how did it come back to bite you? Were you on the front of a local paper or something?
I was watching it with my dad on the footy show. I was watching the footy show, and then it came up as the past player. And it just showed the actual competition, a bodybuilding competition, flexing on television when I was 15 years old.
So who was responsible for dobbing you in?
It was the guy who ran the gym at the time. And I looked him up in the phone book at Sunbury, and I rang him up and I said, "What are you doing, mate? You're killing me."
What did he say?
And he goes, "No, too bad, you went in it."
So they must have really, is Mr. Sunbury now sort of one of the most popular?
No, that's Mr. Sunbury. I was junior. Mr. Sunbury.
okay,
so
sorry.
I was just a young one, but then they had the senior one. But
Okay, so if I
it's not prestigious at all.
Isn't it?
It's just something that people can take the piss out of me and
Yeah.
have a good laugh, and
Well,
I don't mind it.
I was going to say, if you drive down the streets of Sunbury, we see all these little kids sort of pumping iron and stuff, trying to follow in your
Yeah,
footsteps.
it's not happening, Ron.
Now, we've got a couple of scallons in your closet, JJ, and I've sort of witnessed one of them. Having been on a international rules trip with Jason, one of the disturbing characters in that tour party was Evil Jason, hence the EJ. Can you tell us a bit about Evil Jason?
Yeah, Evil Knievel. He was a bloke that used to come out after about 6 beers, I think. And he was a bit mischievous, so I'd probably elevate myself to Mark's sober state and being a little bit boisterous and game playing and stuff like that. But sometimes he'd be a little bit aggressive and want a little wrestle, and sometimes he'd want to just play a little joke or set someone's shoelaces on fire. He'd just sort of creep around the room and just be a little bit of a pest to, I guess everyone else that was in the room. So,
well, is there anything else, anyone we've left out we should bag of your era, or any cheap gags you want to have at each other's expense?
Mark McVeigh has gone bald. Ladies out there, the big mop of hair that he used to have, he's gone bald now, so he's shaved it off.
Oh,
so
really?
he looks like his younger brother now.
Oh, no.
So
Has
he's
he
lost,
gone the beard
he's lost
as well,
it. He's
or?
not handsome anymore.
No.
No, so he's lost the plot.
There's no point. Is he still called Spike? There's no.
Well, there's no
Spike?
point now, is there? Yeah.
What did you call him?
What did I call him? A Spike. He was always Spike.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Oh, sorry, Spike. We're going to have to come up with a new nickname
Baldy.
for you.
Yeah.
Solly's one that cracks me up now. That,
Why?
he's
Gold
just
Coast coach.
Gold
assistant
Coast coach, and even Damien.
Damien Hardwick.
To